Okay, for Unit 6, we're still going to be focusing on the Engage portion of the 5E lesson plan model. And depending, of course, upon the goal of this lesson, the section may include a complete activity or may just consist of something as simple as questioning techniques that involve all of the students and set up the rest of the lesson. So your objectives for Unit 6 are to review a lesson plan model and discuss its role guiding the implementation of a lesson, describe specific ways that technology support staff and acceptable use policies can be used to assist teachers, identify strategies used to manage learning environments during technology-enhanced lessons, discuss strategies for adapting technology for use with special learners, and discuss strategies for assessing students, informative and summative ways to inform teaching. You'll want to make sure that you also review all of your readings here, paying special attention to Dr. Bob Kislick and Kathy Schrock's guides. They're very helpful as you move through the course. And you'll also want to review Kathy Schrock's iPads for Teaching located here at this link. So the assignment objective for Unit 6.1 is to use a 5E lesson plan map to map the Engage component using the Inspiration 9 software. And in this lesson, you'll explore the use of interactive applications, also known as apps, and or games, whether online or mobile device based, as a learner-centered, interactive way to promote learner engagement and interest in a lesson. When you appropriate the lesson objective and learner characteristics, interactive apps and games can enable you to engage your students with the help of technology in a way that appeals to many of today's learners. The critical issue in effectively utilizing these tools is that the teacher needs to critically evaluate an app or game before including it in their lesson to ensure that it is appropriate for students and that it's aligned with the lesson objectives. This unit should help you to become more familiar with interactive apps and games as an instructional and or learning tool by locating and evaluating such a tool to promote student engagement in your lesson. Thanks to the efforts of developers and educators from all over the world, there's already a wealth of interactive games and apps available on the web and through mobile devices such as Google Play on Android and the App Store on iPhones that you can use in your own classroom. Using one of the evaluation tools available on Kathy Schrock's iPads for Teaching website that we mentioned earlier, it's also linked here, will allow you to select only those apps or games that meet your classroom requirements. As your knowledge of interactive apps and games increases, you may then even become more interested in designing and developing similar tools of your own. Please read the instructions carefully for required criteria for this assignment. So the materials you'll need for this assignment are, of course, your Windows operating system, an internet browser, internet access, and your Inspiration software. For the mapping portion of this assignment, you'll pick out a new ProjectWild or Project Learning Tree lesson that you have not used before. You'll want to make sure that you pick an activity that you have an interest in, and you'll use this activity as the base lesson for this unit as well as the following 4 units. So make sure that it's something that you really enjoy, that's very informative. Take some time in picking out your lesson. Then you'll rewrite the lesson objective to be in the ABCD format as we did in Unit 5 and use the following resources located here under step number 3. The methods section identifies instructional methods. We also did that in Unit 5 and the link is located here if you want to refer back to it. Make sure that all materials are listed, and then you'll map out the Engage section, just as we did in Unit 5. For this week, you don't need to map the rest. You may need to create an Engage element if it's not clearly defined in the lesson you select. Save the Inspiration file and name it with a short, meaningful name, such as Engage, with no spaces in the name. Keep this file. It's the file that you can edit and you'll add on to it in the next lesson, so be sure that you keep it and that's readily accessible. For the interactive app or game portion, you'll download the interactive app game evaluation template. It is linked here above, right here. You'll just click on that. On the top of the document, you'll put your name, the title and page number of the Project Wild or Project Learning Tree lesson. You'll review several of the evaluation tools available on Kathy Schrock's iPads for Teaching website that you understand the factors that you should consider when searching for an appropriate interactive app or game for your lesson. Next, you'll use a search engine like Google to find examples of online interactive apps or games that are relevant to the topic of your lesson. It's important to make sure that the app or the game that you choose is relevant to your lesson. You may also search for interactive apps or games on your mobile device, smartphone or tablet, using either the Google Play Store for Android devices or the App Store for Mac. As you review the available options using the rubric for evaluating interactive apps and games located in Section C of the Interactive App and Game Evaluation Template, based on your research and evaluation, select the interactive app and game that you believe is most appropriate for getting your students engaged and interested in your lesson. Enter the name and location of your selected interactive app or game in Section A of the Interactive App and Game Evaluation Template. And so you'll see here when you open up the Interactive Application Game Evaluation Template, this is what you'll see. It's broken into sections. Section A, this is where you're going to enter the information regarding the lesson that you've chosen for this assignment. Section B is where you're going to insert your inspiration map picture here. Section C is where you're going to scroll down to the interactive app game scoring rubric below and enter your scores for the identified components for that interactive app or game that you selected. And this is the rubric here. You'll want to make sure that you not only provide your comments for your rubric, but that you actually score each category for your rubric, and that's here in this last column on the right. You have a comment section that you'll definitely want to fill out, but in addition to that, you'll total each row and list your final score out of 50. So there's a total of 50 possible points, and you will score each category and then add those up to see how the game or the app that you've chosen, how relevant that is to the lesson that you've chosen from the book. So once you've completed your interactive app or game template, then you're going to want to come down and complete the Google Sites ePortfolio component. This is the Engage portion. You'll go into your Google site. Mine is right here. You'll want to make sure that you come over and click on the Engage page. And this is where you're going to replace this placeholder sentence with a 2 to 3 sentence paragraph that explains the relationship between the content elements of the technology artifact that you've chosen and the lesson objective that you chose for this assignment. You'll also insert the image of your Project Wild Project Learning Tree lesson plan map, and you'll use an attachment link below to attach the technology artifact used for the 5E component. This is going to be the interactive app game template for Unit 6. You'll also note here that the submission procedure, you're only going to submit your Google Sites URL, so you're going to want to definitely make sure that it's a working link before you submit it. This assignment is worth a total of 200 points, so it is a significant assignment. You also have a weekly reflection blog that you'll need to complete. Unit 6 is basically a recap of what we've learned in Unit 5 as far as the Engage portion of the 5E lesson plan map. So other than taking the time to really research the apps and games that would be best suited for you to use in conjunction with the lesson that you've chosen, the rest of it is going to be pretty familiar with you from Unit 5. So I really want you to focus on taking time to look for a game or an app that's going to really enhance the lesson that you've chosen. There are many, many out there, so you can spend a lot of time looking around. What you're going to want is an app or a game that scores highly on the rubric. That is going to be more compatible with the lesson that you've chosen. So if you pick an app or a game that only scores a 20 on your rubric, you're going to want to go back and take a look for something that's going to be a little bit more appropriate for the lesson that you've chosen. As always, if you have questions about the assignment, please post first in the discussion board, Students Helping Students, so that we can help one another out. And for any other questions or comments, concerns, of course, use the course email tool.